Hello everyone, September the 1st. Wasn't this an extremely powerful full moon we are just coming out of? Yes, it was the biggest full moon of the year, and it was in Pisces, which is that collective stream. So I just became aware of it today, actually, how strongly I am plugged into that collective stream, and I think this is true for everyone else. We are all really feeling what's going on with this planet. It is that kind of anticipation of that singularity we are moving in. Nobody can really ignore anymore what's happening in your close neighborhood, circle of friends, those people who are in touch with all the time, as well as the big wide world, so to say, as we are directly plugged into that area too, having been increasingly so since the internet has been becoming the main communication tool, interaction tool with the world, and this has definitely grown exponentially in the last, I would say, 100 years since newspapers became more and more. That was where it started, and TV and whatnot, and now we are in that age where we have immediate access to anything and everything that's happening. So we are really directly plugged into this collective stream, and it felt like the wheels were spinning. That's kind of was my personal perception in my life, and I guess we all, again, I want to stress this, we all are feeling exactly that same thing. Some of us might be more kind of ignoring that part, just looking in a different direction, and it's not a really bad thing to do that. We all have to do that at some point. It is not good to indulge in it, definitely. It is also not good to ignore it, so we have to find that golden balance between to pay attention, to be aware, but at the same time to observe and just stay on the sideline. I want to remind you of the number 7's main quality. That is the frequency of this whole year 2023. 7 is standing on the sideline. It does not mix with other numbers. It's what's called an irrational number. It is not for example, if we divide a circle by 7, it will be a fraction of degrees with an unending sequence of numbers. Really, it's that, in that sense, the 7 is really very special. It is that frequency between two structural numbers, the 6 and 8, as I said before. So this is a rare opportunity we're having to really shift the frequency from a lower to a higher level, and we are in the middle of it. Actually, I did kind of write down as I'm preparing here for this recording. We're at the core of the battle. At least we are approaching that now very, very seriously. October 14, the solar eclipse, which is framed by two occultations of Mars and Mercury on either side of in a day, is in itself a very strong indication. This is a unusually powerful eclipse coming up. Mars and Mercury being the two main planets, really, aside from Venus, which are involved in this personal transformation, which is the base to the collective transformation. So it is really Venus, Mercury, Mars, the three personal planets which we are mostly seeing what is happening. That's why I have here the Sun Mercury superior conjunction up for you. This is kind of a goalpost. This is when we arrive at this point, then when we have made it safely up to that place, then things will start really rolling all by itself, all by themselves. It will be reaching that peak of the pass. For example, if you're a cyclist, for kilometers on end, it's an uphill battle, and then comes the moment when you reach the height of the pass and the mountain tops, and you are able to then just let go and flow with the wind and be extremely careful naturally to get the curves in the exact right angle. It is that race car driver theme which then comes in. This will be, I mean, this already is going on some level, but even more so then when everything starts rolling by itself and you see, aside from Palace rising and an exact opposition to Chiron. Yes, this is looking the beast into the eyes. It is the direct focus on it. This is war at its greatest heat, really. That's what we will have to go through. It is the door to freedom. It is that, you could say that fire we have to jump over, almost like jumping through the ring of fire as they do in the circus, that famous show piece, so to say. Anyway, it is kind of that kind of energy. There are serious cracks in the system. It's imploding. It's rotting from within. This is our chance. This is actually a very rare chance. This has never happened in history. We are extremely, extremely lucky that we are right now at this moment in history. And yes, for eons, our ancestors have been working towards this moment. Everybody knew it was coming, but it was hundreds of years away. We have arrived. This is the moment of catching that opportunity. Yes, we definitely have to be very aware that we don't miss this opportunity. We are doing this not just for ourselves but for the coming, all the generations coming on this planet. This is I mean, you know it. I'm not talking something unusual or out of the box. This is the decisive moment in history where it either goes this way or that way. Either we go into a total police state with absolute control, no freedom, your money is guarded, and they can turn the tap off any time if you're no more fitting into the system as you should. So you're getting it. That's exactly what this Palace Chiron opposition shows. And this is a superheated degree. Mars and Chiron had their opposition here just a degree away, just days ago actually. Let me just get that straight here. Yes, on the 30th of October, 30th of August, Mars and Chiron had their opposition. That was just prior to that powerful full moon. We get back to this chart. Maybe just two more things I want to mention already, kind of as a preview, as we're looking ahead, where we're getting, what are the gifts we will be given by the universe at that time. The energy to work with. The moon in Capricorn conjunct Ischion. Ischion is an extremely refined mind. So much so, the original character Ischion, he was able to cheat even Zeus and everyone else naturally. So there's this slyness, that extreme power of twisting everything around into the direction one would like to. So this naturally works on both ends. It's always that with astrology we have to understand that the both factions, so to say, the one which works towards that extreme control and the one which works towards freedom, they both use that same energy in their own way. Now the saving grace really is that opposition of Aspolus and chaos here in early Cancer. Aspolus, that is that direct focus onto what's wrong, onto what's dark. It's kind of that fascination with the mystery. And chaos naturally is the original order. For those of you who are new here, this is quite different from what we usually understand as chaos. One of these words which have been inverted in their meaning in the 19th century. This happened. Before that, chaos is relating to the Greek character god Chaos, which is the god of, or the deity of, primordial order. Yes, you can look it up if you don't believe. So that's what this minor planet represents. It also indicates that everything before reaching that original primordial order, things have to get defragmented, put back into their building blocks and then reassembled in an organic way. So that's also part of what we are experiencing. And yes, on some level this definitely is appearing as chaos. It's a liberating chaos though, so that's kind of maybe the way to describe it. Anyway, I will get back to this chart. I just wanted to give you a little heads up to be strong, to go through these challenges we are wading through right now. This is again a quick look back at this powerful full moon in Pisces. Was within 8 or 12 hours, as I showed you in my last recording, from the place where the moon was most exactly closest to the earth. And naturally what is big, is strong, is powerful, is in our face. So that's what it was. And with that collective frequency coming in so strongly into our personal spheres, yes, we have been really feeling it on a very deep level, what is going on, even if we hadn't been feeling that already. It felt kind of like the wheels were spinning in the mud for a while, and today actually I get the impression now it starts gripping. We're gaining traction. We're no more on ice. The gravel you put under your wheels is starting to work. You're getting traction. You're moving forward. You're moving in the direction, the desired direction, not just any. And this is just now building up, getting stronger. Just want to show you, in a few days Venus will turn direct. Now look at the two charts, how similar they are. This will be the 4th of September when Venus is coming to that place where she is no more going backwards, coming back to this moment which I shared with you last time, that important moment when a planet first time touches that moment of where it will come back to kind of that entry point into this critical phase of where it goes forth and back and forth again 3 times. And the power of these moments, which was back in June, as you see here. I have this chart here on the side because this is really the baseline of where we are operating from right now. The Venus loop, in that sense, describes the energy of the next 19 months. That is the next time Venus will come back to this configuration of starting one of these S-shaped curves in the sky, coming exactly back to where it entered. So this critical moment, and again, I'm having another recording actually lined up. I just have to still record it, going back to 9/11, because this is a prime example of how powerful these moments are when the planets, the inner planets, Venus and Mercury and Mars, when they enter this phase where they come back again to, it is an initiation which happens at that moment, kind of a time traveling also, because it links directly into that future moment at the end of the retrograde phase. And then the third leg in that journey is really where the resolution is starting to come in. So anyway, this is a totally other story. The interesting thing about this chart is that again Chiron has been highlighted here, as you see, right in the midheaven, and the 9th degree of Leo. I shown you the chart of the Philadelphia experiment. This is kind of that energy. It's in the heat of the battle. It's also all those fires which we have are experiencing as we speak all over the planet. Yes, most of them are not natural, as we sadly know. However, it is this cosmic energy which allows for this to unfold. It's seemingly a necessary phase to navigate through, as difficult and sad as it is, and this is part of it. It's really, we are in war. I mean, you know that, I know that, everybody should know that and will know that eventually, and these are casualties. It's sad, but this is the way it goes, and we just have to honor those who fall and who are taking the heat for us, literally. And there's lots of compassion naturally which is evoked once we are truly recognizing their sacrifice, which it truly is. It is, they're giving their lives for a greater cause. They might not be even aware of that part of it yet. However, I have the strong conviction that each of these beings came into this life with this knowing that there would be a sacrifice. They were ready to take on that soul contract, to do this job, to be on that mission, to sign up for it, regardless, even if they are losing their lives and everything else. So this is again a knowing before it happens, which we all have. In a way, that is also where time is starting to fully dissolve. We get access to all these different times in our own evolution. We see the bigger picture. That is a part of what's really going on. Again, Arukot is connected to that. Arukot, the one which is allowing to see all at once. Go back to one of my recordings on Arukot, and I'm coming back to it. It is one of the key factors of our present awakening phase, and it really began on January the 1st, 2019. That was the day when that spacecraft, which originally was exploring Pluto, New Horizon called, which is in itself an omen. New Horizon had its closest flyby to that most distant object in our solar system. We so far have had a very close-up visit, inspection, and as the story goes, that just to stay on that level, because it's indicative, all that scientific information which was derived in that flyby was then beamed back to Earth, and the scientists worked on that information for months on end to come to the conclusion that the whole history of the solar system, which so far has been conceived, has to be rewritten. Everything had to be discarded. They so far had been thinking about the evolution of the solar system and start from scratch again. That's how powerful this little planet Arrokoth is, which is, as you see, it is at the 22nd degree of Capricorn. Just to come back to that chart I showed you before, that again a little heads up. Which one was it now? No. I see. Okay, I have it here on the other display. I have always run out of space here with these 15 charts I can display at once. Here it is. When Mercury and Sun will have their superior conjunction on October the 20th, Arrokoth will be exactly at the bottom of the chart, you see, at 2121. So this is really happening, that wider perspective we have on everything, and everybody is experiencing that, regardless of how much brainwashed you have been, and we all have. I mean, this is just the story of this present time. Whoever they are, it's, as we have touched on that, it's an interdimensional force. It's not really even human. It's from a totally different origin, is not native to this planet. That's very important to know. I refer to Jacqueline Hobbs, Oracle Girl. She's amazing on that, how she really is able to explain this, how this force has been parasitically invading our human species, and tricking us to buy into its programs, and then in that sense giving it life, because this force has no life, no roots in the biological life. We are connected with nature. So if we just reject that, to accept that energy anyway, but what I want to say is, yes, this interdimensional force has been extremely resourceful in finding ways to get their tentacles into the human brain and infect us, to trick us to work for it, and that is coming to an end. That is kind of the bigger picture here we are working through. Anyway, just wanted to show you this Arrokoth here as being a main ingredient of what is going on right now, and has been, as I say, since January the 1st, 2019, when that close flyby was of New Horizons space probe, which had been on its way for 13 years plus, was launched in 2006. After 9 years it reached Pluto, and from there on they were looking for another candidate to be inspected, which was kind of on that flight path of this exiting spacecraft out into the greater cosmos. And they intently deep searched that part of the sky with Hubble's telescope and all the other amenities they have, great telescopes, and were focusing in and came up with 6 candidates. Arrokoth was the one chosen. So that shows you the specialness of this little body here in this chart. Well, I don't want to jump ahead. Let's go back to where I started. So this is the full moon we're coming out of. Just to remind you once more, and this shows kind of the difficult energy this full moon has been working through. Saturn is conjuncted. This is Earth here, conjunct the moon, as it is in that sense, because it's always, if the sun is on one side, then Earth is on the other, the receiving end, so to say, and the moon in that sense is then directly behind Earth. And yes, it's not always so that the moon then disappears behind Earth. That is because there's also a latitude. They're all not all exactly in the same plane. So the moon is about, at its most, about 5 degrees off this plane. So only in the places where the two planes are intersecting, which are the nodes, that's where we then see lunar eclipses. That is exactly what it is when the moon is behind Earth as seen from the sun. But what I want to mention is particularly there is one more little planet here in between, which is Gonggong, the water dragon. And there's a particular story to Gonggong. Actually, I have it open here. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly for you. From a website which I liked quite a bit. Here it is. Okay, just takes a minute to load. Okay, oh, I pressed the wrong button. That's the one I want. Okay, here we go. So Gonggong, and that's again the character that was chosen when the astronomers gave this little planet a name. It was discovered in 2007, by the way. Again, we have the 7 in there. So Gonggong was a Chinese water dragon responsible for the chaos of floods, landslides, and the tilt of the earth in ancient legends. So what happened, it was in a quarrel with the other deity, the fire deity, and then the fire deity won the race, so to say. Gonggong got extremely angry and slammed its head in his anger into Earth, made it to tilt its axis. The rivers were flowing backwards. So there's some real interesting, well, more than interesting, actually quite frightening story this is in itself. But at the base is this red hot anger which comes into play, where this god does something which most likely there is some regret in it. Actually, there is regret in it, as the story goes. Yes, I will share this link in the description of the video, so you can go back and read the story. It's quite interesting. So okay, okay, here it is. Yeah, it says it somewhere. There is a big gift in it after he realized what he had done. Anyway, I can't find it right away. There is an upside to it, as with every story. So it is that moment of recognizing that anger and then also transcending it and putting it into concrete and decisive action. So again, that is that after the spinning of the wheels through the mud, we start feeling traction is happening, we're moving in the right direction, and we are starting to use that energy in a very constructive way. So let's see what I have lined up here for you. This is today. Mercury retrograde has its second opposition of Nessus. Mercury here, 1702. Nessus here, 1702. this chart I found interesting. I mean, first of all, the Mercury Nessus theme is on one side evil to the core in its intentions. It is that abuse frequency of invasion and whatnot. On the other side, it is the recognition of it. So it always comes together. First, you have to experience something before you start to realize what is happening. It is that kind of, that's a sequence here. And interesting that the moon is conjunct whom? Chiron again. Most exactly. 6 minutes of arc only between the two. It's still building up in that sense, still kind of approaching that point of full recognition of what is going on. So this is really what I have said before. We are approaching the core phase of this battle, of this war. We are literally in ground zero. I guess we know that already, no big news there, but it is getting so intense that the breakthrough is very, very near. As I say, I see it happening any time between now and January, most centered around October 14, 20, that window. Arokot again. Yes, there is a recognition. I guess it is really the penny is dropping, as I said in one of my earlier recordings. It's really happening. We can hear it. And it's a little bit of paying attention to what's happening around you and in the world and such, but it is happening. So this is positive news, even though it is a difficult phase we're in. So this is the same moment, Mercury opposing Nessus in heliocentric geometry. I found it super interesting here. Mercury 29 Aquarius in a perfect, well, less than a degree square to Sedna. I just want to show you, this is when the Mercury loop started, the present one, and this is the heliocentric chart. Here we had Mercury opposing Sedna. So what is Sedna adding here to the story? Well, Sedna is that I would say it's almost like a Pandora's box. It brings all these energies in from deep space, from the lost history, carries all these secrets of the deep sea. As you know, Sedna is the goddess ruling the deep sea. Interesting, the last 3 letters of its name, the Sedna is DNA. So it links us also to this prime origin we all share. It's a very, very deep note, and having access to that, and that's what Mercury enables here. That's where, yes, at first it's a confrontation, it is a conflict, but it is triggering that recognition, realization, particularly so as you see if we look at it from the geocentric perspective. Sedna is already in the beginning of Gemini, is here since June the 11th. Bringing the mysteries out into the open, giving them voice, speaking up, sharing, communicating. It's in the air. Yes, literally, it's in the wind. and the wind is the carrier of spirit, the carrier of information. So it's really the goose is out of the bottle in a way. We all feel that, know that, at least those who are on that stream of already having opened their whole panoramic vision to what is going on, and not them refusing to see it because for whatever reason, either yes, it is a big part is fear naturally, and fear has been fueled and instilled, and it's still being injected in big amounts, as we know all that propaganda again about the next strain of this so-called whatever. However, I have the strong feeling people are not that much falling for it anymore. What really makes me hopeful was that news that for the third of these shots for kids in California, which probably was about 6-7 months ago, only 2 to 4% were falling for it. And that is California, you know, I mean, that woke state where it seems those forces have the greatest influence. Only 2 to 4% went and gave their kids the third of these doses. Very, very encouraging information that was, in my opinion. So I have the strong hope that many people won't even go there anymore. This is really pretty much already a dead horse. They might be able to still electrocute it to give it a little bit of movement. Yes, I guess you get the picture, to make it jump around, but it's no more having any vital power really. So this is today Mercury-Nessus opposition. Okay, and this is just, yes, what I showed you already. That was the beginning of this Mercury loop with a Gemini rising. Yes, it's all about the recognition and the laying bare of patterns and sharing it, speaking up, using your voice, using your pen, being thoughtful and mindful, and pointing things out, telling people where to look and such. It's super important. The earlier we get a maturity, really, we get to that place where everything are happening by themselves. And again, I'm projecting that this place will be reached by October 20th. That's what it looks, if you ask me, in terms of astrology. And this is backed up by the solar cycle. As we know, the solar cycle will peak early. You can go back to that recording too, where you see the scientific evidence for that. Pretty much 1 year early than what it was projected for. It's said to now peak any time between the late 2023 and early 2024. My guess it will be January 2024 when really the peak is reached, and that makes sense astrologically. We will get to that closer to the date, but already mark that in your mind. This is where we are heading to. Until then, it will stay extremely intense. But it's, again, it's absolutely worth it, and it's thrilling on some way. In some way, it's like sitting in a theater and you're in this, and you chose to be there to look at that thriller, and to sit at the edge of your seat and to bite your tongue and root for the hero and all of that. It is that intensity, and it is not just that, it's also, we are really directly touched by it emotionally on all levels, human. Okay, this is then when Venus turns direct. I have shown you already, this is linking in to the new to the full moon energy we just had. As you see, if we quickly go back, that was the Pisces full moon on the 4th. The 4th again is a day where many things happen at once. Not just will Venus turn direct. Here you see at 12 degrees in Leo, exactly that degree where I pointed out in this chart she entered her retro loop. Again in the 1st house, this time with the Cancer rising, adding that additional layer of emotionality, of being really involved in what's going on with Mars at the root of the chart. Interesting that here at full moon Mars was in the 3rd house still here. In that sense, still in that zone of fully coming to mentally recognize what's going on, and Mars in Gemini is quite difficult to start with, in the 3rd house I should say, which is the same frequency as Gemini. Can be very, very argumentative and battling for who is right and who is wrong and things like that. So this changes when Mars is in the 4th house. Now its energy is directed towards helping and supporting. That's it's very family oriented in that sense, particularly also with Venus, with the Sun and Earth here still in this hexagram pair of 40 and 37. 40 deliverance, 37 family, which in the human design, if you're aware of that, form one channel which is a collective channel of support, mutual support and friendship, and doing the right thing to keep your tribe in a favorable position, place. So there's a lot of that going on in this chart, and Mars here in the 4th house. Yes, it is about hands-on helping others and holding hands and guiding whoever needs that, wants that, and just be there for people. Be open in that sense. You will pick up when somebody needs your input. It is definitely so that we are not forcing ourselves on anyone. That's really not the name of the game. It is that awareness, keeping your eyes stiff, your ears stiff in the wind, as we say, and pick up on what is necessary. Okay, so see, that was 1:20 a.m. on September the 4th. Again, universal time. That is 0 time for the Earth's 0 meridian, which goes through Greenwich. That's why I choose Greenwich. And this is then at 2:10 p.m., a little more than 12 hours later. Jupiter turns retrograde. So 2 planets turning direction. That is already showing this is a major energy shift in the air on that day. And once more, I mean, you can't make these things up. Again, you have an angular Chiron. Yes, it is all about that. Chiron, before its healing, like every good physician, doctor, first the wound has to be cleaned. The bones have to be corrected into the right position. And these are very, very painful processes. And that is really that's all which is necessary in the end. The rest, nature is taking care of. And that's exactly the role Chiron plays, to bring things into the open, to show who is responsible, what is behind, what is the background to all of that which you are experiencing, all of that together. And in Aries, yes, it is the sign of taking responsibility for what's going on. Because in the end, yes, it is so. We are extremely powerful. Each one of us is at its core divine, connected to that divine power. We are all vessels for that. Each one of us, each life form actually is a physical expression of this divinity which is behind all of creation. And in that sense, we have taken on this job in a big way. Yes, I guess more and more of us realize that we are here for a reason, and it is this understanding that I am responsible for whatever I'm experiencing. Even all the bad stuff which I have been going through is actually everything in that sense of lower base metal turns into gold once you realize what it really has brought you, given you. Every difficult experience has its silver lining. That's basically what it is. And once we understand that, then we understand that yes, everything we are given by the universe, literally we have invited it into our life, into our dimension, and this is true also collectively for what we are going through right now. So this is really one of the core themes, as you see it repeated over and again, this Chiron placement. Chiron in Aries 2018 till 2025. So this, already back then I said, this was the phase of taking back that power, and it starts with taking on the responsibility for what happened already, and in that sense you're opening the door to fully take your power back, because once you're in charge you can change. You can change anything and everything. So let's see. Okay, here I'm just looping back once more to this chart for whatever reason. That's the Mars Chiron conjunction, which happened 2 days ago. Right, I remember now. I just want to point out the 17th degree again. You see, this is when they had their exact opposition. That is exactly that same axis. So that's again another example how charts interlock, how energies are empowering each other. 2 moments in time with each of them being of prime importance in terms of exact resonance, and when they interlock they empower each other. It's really a structure which is transcending time and space. How I often like to say is that the future is pulling us. So we already feel that pull from the October 14 solar eclipse. Just as an example, it is pulling us towards that manifestation. It's kind of the pin has already been entered, put onto the blackboard if you want, and now we have a target. We are moving towards that. It's pulling us in that direction. That's kind of what we are feeling. So this 17th degree you see here, this is the heliocentric chart, actually. Yes, because it was a heliocentric opposition. And here you see also Venus at the 17th degree and Mercury at the 17th degree. So this again adds to the power of this opposition. So it is all 3 personal planets are linked into this. And again, this was just a day ahead of the full moon. See, the moon actually by then was here already at 3 degrees 45 in Pisces. So that's really just 8 hours prior to the full moon. Yes, this is a heliocentric chart. This is just showing you the geocentric position of the moon naturally. And it was in conjunction, in tight conjunction with this heliocentric position of Saturn. Again, these are two different levels we are looking at, geocentric and heliocentric, but because it's the same degree, they are resonating with each other. So this shows, yes, this is the most difficult part we are now in, pretty much since this full moon. This was the kickoff to this final confrontation where we are pushed to stand strong in our power, in our integrity, in our honesty, in our invincibility. And then on the 6th of September, Mercury turns direct. No, not yet. Sorry. This is when it is exactly between Sun and Earth. That's what's called the synodic cycle restarts. See, here is, in that sense, this is Earth, that's where we're looking from, and Mercury is exactly between Sun and Earth, moving backwards naturally, because we on Earth move faster. That's why it appears, it's really like you're taking another car over on the highway. The other car appears to move backwards. That's what it is. I will get back to this chart. I just wanted to give you a quick preview here of what's coming. Just skip through these coming charts quickly with you so you get a kind of a preview of what's coming. This is the same thing heliocentrically, that same moment. This is then on the 8th of September when Mercury comes back into the hexagram. It has started its retro loop, that is hexagram 40. Deliverance, I already back then told you, and you can go back to that recording, gives you the bigger picture of that phase. It is about finding that opening which liberates everything. It's the thunder which is over the lake. That is the two symbols in the Chinese hexagram. We get more into hexagram 40 again when I talk about this. I will do this in a following up recording. Just quickly more. Venus then changes into hexagram 7. That is the army. That is when Venus will approach its turning point. That is where Venus started. No, that's not correct. I'm wrong on that. Sorry, it is the hexagram prior where it is turning direct then, which is hexagram 33 retreats. Anyway, that's upcoming. Just give you a quick here browse through. I want to call it a day here with this recording. Again, thank you so much, and please subscribe if you liked what you heard, and to be informed of future broadcasts. Enjoy the ride, and thank you for being here.